This is the Motorola Moto G72 Disassembly. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. And if you need any tools, there are links in the description. To start off, the SIM tray needs to be removed. Here's a better look at that. Next, we need to use a hairdryer or a heat gun to apply heat to the back plate to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then we'll use a plastic pry tool to pry the back plate off. Here's a better look at the plastic back plate. There are 17 Phillips screws which need to be removed. One thing I found interesting is there's a screw hole over here with a missing screw. So it's possible they use this housing with a different phone as well, which makes use of that extra screw spot. Next, we need to place a plastic pry tool in between the back housing and the frame of the screen and run it along the edges to pop off the catches. Here's a better look at the plastic back housing. The camera lens covers can be replaced by applying heat and prying them off. There's also graphite film to help transfer heat. On the other side, there are numerous antenna flex cables around the border. Now that we have access to the battery cable, we're going to disconnect that first, followed by the rest of the flex cables. There are also two coaxial cables on the bottom right side of the board that need to be disconnected by popping them off. The copper tape covering the front-facing camera connector needs to be peeled off so we can disconnect and remove it. Here's a better look at the 16 megapixel front-facing camera. There's a single Phillips screw which is holding down the main board that needs to be removed. Taking a look at the main board, there's a 108 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide and depth lens, as well as a 2 megapixel macro lens. The connectors for the cameras can be disconnected by just popping them off. None of the cameras have OIS or optical image stabilization. The LED flash is located here. There's a secondary microphone on the top corner, and there's copper tape on the shields to help transfer heat. There's also a liquid damage indicator sticker, which is that white sticker. The proximity sensor is located on the other side, and the SIM card and memory card reader is located below that. There's also some more copper tape and thermal paste on the back shields. Once the copper tape is peeled back, we can see more thermal paste on top of the processor and the two chips next to it. There's a good amount of thermal paste on this phone to help transfer heat, and the copper tape used on this phone is fairly thick, so that should also help transfer heat much better. Here's a better look at the processor and RAM. To remove the battery, there are no pull tabs provided, so we'll need to use some isopropyl alcohol and apply it to the sides of the battery, and let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute so it eats away at the adhesive underneath, making it easier to pry it off. Here's a better look at the 5000 mAh battery. Once the battery is removed, we can see the flex cable for the screen, which is routed through an opening in the midframe, as well as this flex cable which connects the main board to the subboard. So if you needed to replace the screen, you'd have to remove the back plate, as well as the screws in the back housing. You'd then have to disconnect the battery cable and the screen cable, pry the battery off, giving you access to the screen cable, heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry the old screen off, apply new adhesive and reapply the new screen, making sure we run the flex cable back through the opening in the midframe, and reassemble the phone. Now we'll need to disconnect the fingerprint sensor cable, as well as the two other ends of the coaxial cable and this flex cable over here. The subboard can now be lifted up and removed. There's a rubber gasket over the charger port itself, as well as the headphone jack, and the primary microphone is located underneath the shield. Here's a look at the other side. The flex cable for the speaker assembly needs to be peeled off. Then the speaker can be lifted up and removed. There's some more graphite film over the speaker to help transfer heat. And there's some thermal paste underneath it as well. The fingerprint sensor is held down with some adhesive, and the same goes for the vibrator motor on the bottom corner. The cable for the volume keys and power button is located on this side, and that's also held down with some adhesive, and the same goes for the earpiece speaker, which is located on top. There are 2 more liquid damage indicator stickers on this frame, and an additional 2 water damage stickers on the side of the frame by the volume key and power button. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back plate. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.